Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So this will be your intuitive astrology forecast for the week of December 7th to the 13th of 2025. Of course, in this video, I will intuitively tune into my own higher self to get the overall energetic vibe for each aspect, both major and minor, that will be occurring this week, as well as I tune into the overall energy for the week at the end of the video. Now, this is not an all signs or sun sign astrology forecast. I do not do those. My guidance has been, the reason why I don't, my guidance has been is that those are simply not accurate. Okay, you're a unique individual person. If you want to know what specifically is happening for you, you need to get a personal reading and you need to encompass your entire chart. Okay, you cannot boil it down to just one thing. That is simply not accurate, and that is simply not just doing you any service. All right, not intending to be rude to anyone, but that's just how it is. Okay. That being said, what I do here is called mundane astrology, in that this is how the energy affects us all. And that's usually like globally, so politically, economically, that kind of stuff. All right. That all being said, of course, I do offer personal readings if anyone is interested in them. I'm not just saying that to just push personal readings, but I do offer them. You can head over to my website, mysticalmark.ca, and from now until, well, not just now, from before too, but until December 31st, 2025, if you use the code HOLIDAY at checkout, you get 50% off all of the readings, all right? Including my $10 just a quickie reading, which will now be $5 for a quick 3-minute reading if you have any quick questions or anything you need answered. Okay? With all that being said, as I say at the beginning of all of my videos, astrology is an energetic template conducive to certain things. My guidance has been that, likely always will be that. The analogy that they gave me is, of course, that it's like a formula of math. There's variables that exist within that formula, and we get to put the input we want within those variables. Okay? It is how the energy is used, whether it's to create or have certain experiences in that way. It is how that energetic template is used. All right? I also get through stuff intuitively here, like I said, which means anything that I predict towards the future or anything like that is always 100% subject to change due to free will. Like I said, that aspect of variables within the chart or within that energetic template, etc., we have free will. We always have, we always will. So what comes through intuitively here is where, when I'm recording this video, the likelihood to occur from this point forward. However, it doesn't matter who you get a reading from. If it is intuitive, it is always subject to change, no matter what, because of free will. Okay? There may be an end goal in mind that you're saying will happen eventually or something, and it may not, but there may be an end goal. However, their path could be straight there, it could be winding, it could be you go there, then there's a diversion, you make this choice, and then that changes. Okay? That's how it works. We have free will, guys. That's all I'm trying to say here. All right. With all of that being said, let's jump into the charts for this week. Okay, so we're going to start here on Sunday, December 7th. At the top of my list here, we're going to have Mars in quincunx to Jupiter retrograde. Okay, let me just kind of give a tune in here. Okay, what this feels like is there's a frustration here surrounding what we haven't had and what needs to come, and ultimately what needs to come back to us, but this is ultimately taking action to bring something back to us. I've said this before with Jupiter retrograde, is that there is something coming back to us. And it feels like something that's been missing for a very long time, and something that a lot of us, and even in our lifetimes now, may have not even experienced. Okay? But this is taking action, what I feel like is on a more leadership, global type of level with that Mars and Sagittarius there, towards ending this frustration to bring that thing back. There's a frustration there, and there's a desire to take action towards a more positive. It's bringing to more positivity to bring something back. To bring something back is what I feel with that, okay? Also on this day too, we're going to have Mercury here, quintile the south node. What I get with that is there is almost, what I almost got the word is like secret. It's almost like there's secret stuff happening to almost like end stuff or get rid of stuff that's not serving us. This feels very positive though. It's not something that's secret that's nefarious. It's secret that's good. It's like, oh shit, we got to get rid of this before we, make sure we're still moving forward in a good direction. Okay, that's kind of what that feels like to me. So with that quintile, that's something that's putting in the work behind the scenes, and it feels like it's secret. We're not seeing it. But ultimately, it feels like there's an awareness or conversations that are happening almost like in secret or behind the scenes with that Mercury and Scorpio that is pushing for that transformation to occur, to let some old practical thing go here that really, it was really nefarious towards us, negative towards us, but there's something happening behind the scenes that is pushing that out, letting it go ultimately for positive transformation, but it is being done in secret. We're also going to have this Mercury in trine to Saturn here as well. Okay, what I get with this is, again, this movement forward of more positives. It's twofold here. We've got this dissolution of this malefic energy and a moving forward with more positive structures, positive boundaries, that kind of stuff. And this Mercury, this Scorpio energy is really strongly helping with that through awareness, communication, and ultimately using those tools to help to transform into these more positive aspects of Saturn instead of the structures we've had before that were negative. Okay, that's ultimately what that feels like to me. Also on this day, we're going to have Venus here in sesqui-square to Jupiter retrograde. Okay, so what this feels like is that's the busyness of Venus again in Sagittarius, but ultimately that busyness of all those people helping in order to bring something back. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so those are the vibes for those aspects on Sunday. You have to remember, though, that this is when the energy is peaking. However, the energy is still happening before and after as it builds, peaks, and then wanes. So what I'm saying, we're surrounding this stuff doesn't have to be specific on this day. There's a before, and there can be before and after as well. Okay, let's move on to Monday the 8th here. Okay, this is when we're going to have the Sun in semi-square to Pluto. All right. This feels very positive again. Like I said, there's an underlying positive energy here, and I've said this in previous videos, an underlying positive energy that is really helping and supporting us, even if we don't see it. Okay, even if we don't see it. But what this feels like is really positive transformation, change, and what seems like growth on more of like a globe. What it feels like is maybe through political leaders and that kind of stuff actually cooperating with each other, actually coming together and just really wanting to push for actual change and expansion and growth and positivity in that sense. That is what I feel with this, okay? Also on this day, we're going to have Mars in square to Saturn as well. What I feel with this is taking action against negative restrictions, behaviors, aspects of control, and ultimately using those new structures, boundaries, and putting those in, using those new structures, boundaries, and putting them to work, putting those new structures and boundaries in, and going against those old things that we've been used to in that sense, and taking what it feels like is more positive, expansive action towards growth with that aspect. All right, so that is Monday the 8th. Let's move on to Tuesday the 9th here. We're going to have Uranus in opposition to Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio here. Again, what I get is positive change. It's like certain energy is not being outcasted anymore. It's this, I feel like this aspect of freedom. I feel this Lilith energy, and she's happy. I feel like this happiness. Usually Lilith is like, oh, let's look at this and look at that and whatever. And she's like that because she's mad, because she's outcast, because she wants to be independent. She wants to express that. But I feel in this is that she's happy because she's allowed to actually be her independent self and be who she is. With freedom and with happiness and with joy. Now, how does that relate here? Because of the things that are going on, it's leading to this point. I feel almost like an elation with this. Like there's a positivity to this. It's like we're beginning to grow. We're in a new direction. We're moving in a new direction. There's growth that is occurring here, and ultimately this opposition feels balanced. It feels balanced. There's a change that has allowed this Lilith energy to really be who she is and express that in using the positivity of light instead of being so hindered through pain, etc., that she comes off as being angry and all of that stuff. But now there's a lightness to this. There's a positivity to this. Okay, like mundane-wise, what I still get is through the change that is happening politically, etc., this is occurring. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Also on this day, we're going to have the Sun in biquintile to Jupiter retrograde. What I get is, again, stuff happening behind the scenes. What I got is like background deals, but they don't feel nefarious in any way, shape, or form. This feels like very positive stuff that is happening in the background that is occurring. And it's ultimately to bring something back, bring that positivity back, it's bringing something back, but it feels there's an underlying positivity that is truly, truly strongly helping here, even if we don't see it and even if we're not being shown it. It is helping here in whatever way. We're also going to have Juno here in trine to Chiron retrograde. This is actually healing global partnerships is what I feel with this. There are certain global partnerships, commitments, etc., but if more specifically partnerships that are actually being healed through this respect of sovereignty, identity, etc., and healing those wounds. These things are being healed in that way, is what I feel with that energy. Okay, so that's Tuesday the 9th. Let's move on to Wednesday the 10th here. And this is when we're going to have Neptune coming direct here. Okay, so Neptune will leave retrograde and come direct early in the morning on this day. That's first on the list here. So with Neptune direct, I feel this, honestly, I feel like this is where a lot of the positivity is coming from. There's like a hidden force, whether you want to consider it spiritual, it's spiritual, but it's not just spiritual. There's a hidden force that is happening that involves people, it involves things that we don't even know or understand. And that's what I feel with this. It's almost like it's continuing to more so move forward. It's like it was always there, but now with this Neptune now direct, it is moving forward even more. It just feels like this positive hidden force that now has a lot more momentum in moving forward in this way. Okay, also on this day, we're going to have Chiron here. Sorry, I just want to check, make sure everything's still working. Okay, just Chiron here Where am I? In biquintile to Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio. What I feel like is this Black Moon Lilith energy is saying there's still work to be done in terms of healing certain things where maybe we've been outcasted in terms of these wounds of like sovereignty, that kind of stuff, etc. This feels like on a country level, globally. So in terms of like individual countries, in terms of healing sovereignty, healing like independent, like there's stuff surrounding that's like we still got work to do, but it still feels positive, and it still feels very much as there's like this awareness from behind the scenes surrounding this. In terms of moving forward with it. It's what I get with that, but it's like going over these old things ultimately to heal and move forward with it in that way. We also have Mercury here in opposition to Uranus. What I get is changes in thought that ultimately leads to positive transformation. Changes in thought, changes in communication that ultimately leads to positive transformation. What I get is political leaders having new ideas, having new thoughts, ideas, that kind of stuff. It feels more positive, more humanity, stuff that we've longed for decades at this point. In terms of conversations, talks, ideas, that kind of stuff. That is ultimately what I get with this is this. What I've said with Uranus retrograding back into Taurus is you have no choice but to change. After the taming of that bull with that full moon in that week, you can go back and watch it. And that was on the full moon in Taurus. But with that push for that change, it's so positive. The energy I feel is so positive, so humanitarian with that, really pushing for that and moving forward with that. All right, also we're going to have Mercury in biquintile to Chiron as well. What I feel with this is a very strong awareness. This is mentally kind of behind the scenes in terms of what needs to be healed and changed in terms of these wounds as well. Sovereignty, independence, that kind of stuff. That's what I feel with that. And there's an awareness and there's a desire to really push to transform and change the stuff. There's really positive stuff this feels behind the scenes hidden, or like not necessarily hidden, but in the minds of these people, what it feels like is like global leaders, etc. And really truly wanting to push for this positive change and transformation. This feels very, very positive, guys. Honestly, it does. We're also going to have Mercury in conjunction to Black Moon Lilith. This is bringing awareness almost like to that outcasted or negative energy to actually be finally dealt with and transformed in a positive way, and allow that, like I said, that freedom of expression of that Lilith energy in a more in that, allowing her to be free. There's an aspect of allowing freedom here and not being shoved aside or outcasted or whatever, is what that feels to me. How this is gonna be or whatever, but there's what I feel like is with that Mercury conjunction, there's a strong awareness to that and the desire and willingness to transform with that. Also as well, we're going to have Venus here squaring the nodes. What I get is people, and again, this is like political people that work for these political stuff, that are busy dealing with things to really help to push us forward, helping to get rid of that which is no longer serving us or what was practical. We're changing. We're looking at that, taking what could still possibly be viable and getting rid of the rest, to throwing it away, ultimately to move forward in this new positive, very positive direction, despite it being unknown to us because we haven't been down this path before. We're so used to being shit on or dealing with the shit that we don't understand this new direction in which that we're going in, which is part of the reason why we may not see it as positive or understand that we're moving in a positive direction or understand any of this, or there's a lot of deception still in the media or otherwise or whatever, and we don't fully understand these things. But what I can tell you is what I feel in terms of the positive energy that is really strongly pushing, and that is with the positive energy that is with these people ultimately, and we may not even see it, but ultimately with these people that is really helping to push in this positive new direction. All right, that is Wednesday the 10th. Let's go to Thursday the 11th here. We're going to have a last quarter moon here in Virgo, and Sagittarius, Sun in Sagittarius, moon in Virgo. What this feels like to me is expanding away from the stress. It's not going to be so difficult anymore, is what I feel with that. Okay, I'm feeling, do I say, and okay, no, I'm feeling not really say anymore with that. We're also going to have Mercury coming into Sagittarius on this day as well. Now, it's not showing quite yet, because this happens later in the day, but let me just, Mercury into Sagittarius. It feels like a lot more talking and communication between global leaders. And this could be stuff that really needs to be dealt with and talked about and discussed and those kinds of things. It almost feels like there's a heaviness to it as well, as certain things need to be discussed. But it feels very much like more communication between leaders, etc. And it feels, like I said, certain things that need to be discussed, and there's a seriousness to this. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. We also have Mercury in trine to Neptune here as well. The initial thing that I got as I was saying that is there's that positivity that is helping with this, but it's also needing to face certain things. There's maybe, it's almost like face the deception or face something that's hidden or something surrounding this. There's positive energies there, but it's saying you got to look at this. And maybe that's where these discussions are at least beginning in that way. But there's something surrounding that in terms of maybe bringing that into awareness with that trine there. Also, we're going to have Jupiter here in quincunx to Juno as well. What I get with this is there has been frustration surrounding partnerships that haven't allowed certain things to happen, and in essence something needs to change, something needs to come back to us. What it feels like is there's a positivity that needs to come back to us. Specifics I don't necessarily know, but like it feels like there's a positivity that needs to come back to us, and there's a frustration here, with certain partnerships. So when I burp like that, usually pay attention. So there has been something with these certain partnerships that's been very, like, I almost feel like it's dark and negative, and that hasn't been very positive. And there's a frustration with that, and it's like, okay, we really gotta deal with this and understand that we need the positivity to come now and not that negative stuff. Okay, so that's that quincunx. Let's move on here to Friday the 12th. And we have nothing major happening on the 12th, so let's move on to the final day of the week here, Saturday the 13th. Okay, and on Saturday the 13th here, we're going to have Mars in quincunx to Uranus retrograde. What this feels like is frustration towards a lack of action towards appropriate change, and the desire now to take action for growth, expansion, and change. But it's frustrating because there's stuff that really needs to be dealt with and worked with and either gotten rid of or it scared the shit out of me. It's just something behind me beeping. that where was I? That there's some stuff that needs to get out of the way, then that's what that frustration is, in order to begin to move forward, to take action towards the changes that need to be made. Now with Uranus retrograde, I'm getting these are changes that we know that should have been made already. Okay, that we're like, okay, we need to do this now, and it's frustrating because there's stuff that's in the way that needs to get out of the way, and that's what I feel that quincunx is. All right. Also on this day, we're going to have Mercury in sextile to Pluto. Mercury now in Sagittarius, now in sextile to Pluto. What I feel with this is there's outwardly communication, likely from what I see is from political leaders, surrounding aspects of transformation and change, positive transformation and change. You may not see it as that, but that's ultimately what this is it feels like communication from leaders surrounding positive transformation. Because I feel the positive energy, I can feel it. So even if we're not seeing it as such, even if the deception is still there, ultimately through this there's positive transformation and change. Just please understand that there's a positive energy working through all of this stuff right now in our world to help with this kind of stuff. And ultimately it's for positive transformation and change through whatever that is. Okay, so again, now we've reached the end. Reached the end of the week, reached the end of the video. Bring it back to me. Okay, let me just tune into an overall vibe for this week. What I get is ultimately discussions, understanding it, understanding frustrations, dealing with frustrations, discussing things, voicing things out in terms of wanting to take appropriate action now that really should have been already taken in order to move forward in a new appropriate direction. Now, will that action happen now right away? No, but there's actions being taken to be able to take that action. There's steps being done now forward there's steps being done now to take us forward in that new space. And it's going to take time to work, probably a lot less time than maybe we think or what we're used to. It feels like it's going to happen quickly, but there's still time needed to enact this kind of stuff. Okay, so that is the vibe. If you've made it this far in this video, please leave a purple heart in the comments so that I know you're a real one. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in next week's video. Take care.